Hey there, welcome back to Pure Stoic Truth, where ancient wisdom meets modern relationships. Thank you for being here. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the insights that could transform the way you show up, for yourself and for the people you love. In our last video, we uncovered the psychology behind powerful physical connection. Touch her here and she'll never forget you. But emotional connection? That's a whole different battlefield. So today, we take things deeper into the quiet space where relationships either bloom or break. 1. Ever wondered why everything seems fine until suddenly she's gone? 2. What if I told you that the real reason she leaves has nothing to do with cheating or conflict? 3. And here's the twist. By the time you notice the warning signs, she might already be miles away emotionally. Let's get into it. Most people believe women walk away because they simply fall out of love. But here's the truth. Love rarely just disappears. It fades slowly and silently. Under the weight of unmet needs and invisible wounds, relationships don't fall apart in one explosive moment. They dissolve drip by drip, through the missed glances, the unanswered questions, and the quiet emotional absence that builds over time. And yet, when a woman finally leaves, it hits like a surprise storm. The man is left confused, asking, "But everything seemed fine." That's the trap. What seems fine on the surface often masks a deep emotional drift. There were signs, soft, subtle, and sometimes silent. But most men miss them. Not because they're careless, but because no one ever taught them how to read emotional distance. And today, we're not just talking about the usual suspects, arguments, infidelity, or loud drama. No, we're going after the quiet killers. The ones that don't scream, but slowly suffocate the connection. If you stay with me through this video, I'll show you why women leave even when there are no fights, the emotional blind spots most men never notice, and how you can become the kind of man she never wants to walk away from. Let's drop the ego and pick up the mirror. Let's peel back the layers together. Segment 1. Emotional neglect. Let's start with one of the most dangerous relationship killers, emotional neglect. And no, I'm not just talking about forgetting anniversaries or saying, "I love you" less. I'm talking about the slow, almost invisible fading of presence. You're there, physically. Dinner is served, the couch is shared, the routines roll on. But emotionally, you've checked out. You stop asking about her day. You respond with half grunts while scrolling through your phone. You think everything's okay because there's no shouting or slammed doors. But silence isn't peace, it's often withdrawal. Here's what most men don't realize. When a woman stops bringing things up, it's not because she's over it. It's because she doesn't feel heard anymore. And that silence? That's the final warning bell. Emotional neglect feels like being a ghost in your own relationship. You're sitting right next to her, but the distance between you couldn't be wider. For a man, love often looks like provide, protect, show up. But for a woman, love also means see me, hear me, feel me. If that emotional door stays shut too long, don't be surprised when she walks out of it. And by the time you try to open it again, she's already gone. So ask yourself, when was the last time you truly listened? Not to fix her problem, not to end the conversation faster, just to be there, fully present, because that's where true connection begins. Segment 2. Loss of polarity, masculine and feminine energy. Now, let's talk about something most people never even realize is happening until it's too late. Loss of polarity. Polarity, it's not just a concept, it's the spark. It's what makes you two feel magnetized to each other. Masculine and feminine energy, two forces that dance together in every thriving relationship. But over time, that dance can get awkward. Maybe you started off confident, decisive, focused, grounded. But somewhere along the line, you hesitated. You second-guessed, you faded into passivity. And she? She stepped up to hold things together, but felt exhausted doing it. This isn't about being alpha or showing dominance. It's about showing direction, stability, presence, being a force she can lean into, not lean away from. When a man loses his edge, not his aggression, but his clarity, she's left leading the rhythm. And when both people try to lead, well, that's when you step on toes instead of moving in sync. Think of it like this. No polarity equals no passion. And no passion equals no intimacy, no spark, no drive to stay. So, are you showing up with presence? Or have you slowly become a shadow? Segment 3. Loss of purpose or ambition. Let's get brutally honest. One of the most overlooked reasons women leave. A man loses his fire, not his job, not his title, but his sense of purpose. Purpose isn't about making millions or climbing corporate ladders. It's about having something, anything that lights you up and moves you forward. A mission, a vision, a hunger. When you stop pursuing growth, when every day starts to look the same, something in her starts to wither too. She doesn't need you to be perfect, but she needs to see that you're alive, not just breathing, but thriving. Women are drawn to men who are becoming. Who chase something bigger than comfort. When you settle for autopilot, you become forgettable. So ask yourself, what are you chasing that isn't her? Because purpose creates gravity, and gravity keeps relationships grounded. We've just uncovered 3 of the most dangerous, yet silent reasons women walk away. But we're not done. In the next section, we're going even deeper into the unspoken patterns that slowly push her out the door. Patterns most men never realize until they're left staring at a closed. 1. Stay with me, because the next insight might be the one that changes everything. In the last part, we talked about how emotional neglect, loss of polarity, and lack of purpose can slowly erode a relationship from the inside out. But the unraveling doesn't stop there. There's more layers beneath the surface where even the strongest love can start to quietly dissolve. She sees you settling and starts letting go too. It's subtle at first. She watches you gradually giving up on yourself, your goals, your passion, your spark. And in that process, something in her starts to dim too. She begins to feel like she's no longer in a partnership, but in a relationship where only one person is still growing. And here's the truth. It's never been about money, fame, or success in the eyes of others. It's about internal momentum, that fire inside. A man who's on a mission is deeply attractive, not because of where he's headed, but because of how alive he becomes in the pursuit. Think about it. When was the last time you talked about something that made your eyes light up? When did you last take a real step toward becoming the man you once dreamed of being? Because here's the hard truth. When you stop growing, the relationship stops growing too. And most women, they don't want to leave. They just can't stay in a place where nothing and no one is moving forward. Communication disconnect. Let's talk about one of the most common yet most misunderstood relationship killers: communication. Or more precisely, the lack of it. Surprisingly, most breakups don't come after shouting matches or huge arguments. They happen in the quiet. They begin with emotional silence, where 2 people slowly stop speaking each other's language. Men often speak to fix. Women often speak to connect. So when she opens up about something emotional and you immediately jump in with solutions, she doesn't feel heard, she feels dismissed. And when you say for the 5th day in a row, "I'm just tired," and shut down, she starts to wonder if she even matters to you anymore. And here's a big one. When she says, "I'm fine," it usually doesn't mean she is. But the real danger? If you stop asking, eventually, she stop answering. Over time, the emotional thread between you starts to fray. Not in an explosion, but in a slow, almost invisible unraveling. And by the time it snaps, neither of you may even realize it was ever coming. Communication isn't just about words. It's about timing, tone, presence, intention. It's in the little things. Checking in during a tough day. Pausing to say, I hear you. Sitting in silence when she doesn't want advice, just comfort. So ask yourself honestly, are you listening just to respond, or are you listening to understand? Because when communication fades, connection fades with it. And when there's no connection, even love will struggle to survive, feeling unappreciated or unseen. Another quiet killer in relationships: being taken for granted. It doesn't happen overnight. It builds over time, silently, painfully. At first, you notice the little things. Maybe she packed your lunch, paid the bills, reminded you of your mom's birthday. Maybe she folded your laundry exactly the way you liked it. And you said thank you, you smiled, you touched her back in passing. But then, those moments became routine. You stopped noticing. You stopped thinking. And slowly, without meaning to, you made her feel invisible. What most men don't realize is that women often carry a huge emotional load. Not just managing the house or schedule, but managing your moods, the family's well-being, the invisible pressure to hold everything together. And when that emotional effort isn't acknowledged day after day, it starts to feel like she doesn't matter. And that's when she starts to emotionally disconnect, to shut down, to drift. Appreciation is the oxygen of a relationship. Without it, everything slowly suffocates. So here's one thing you can do today. Notice just one thing she does that you usually overlook, and genuinely thank her for it. Look her in the eye. Let her feel seen. Because here's the thing. Being taken for granted doesn't scream, it whispers. But the hurt it causes, that echoes long after she's gone. Cheating or broken trust. And now, let's address the elephant in the room. Yes, cheating. But not just in the traditional sense. Because betrayal doesn't always wear the face of an affair. Sometimes, it's the secret DM, the deleted messages, the flirtatious text you label as harmless. Sometimes, it's emotional intimacy with someone else when that space should have belonged to her. And sometimes, it's not about what you did, but what you stopped doing, stopped being honest, stopped being transparent, stopped being present. Trust isn't just about faithfulness, it's about safety. Can she trust you with her vulnerability, her truth, her heart? And when that feeling of safety disappears, she might stay a while, but something in the relationship begins to rock quietly from within. Maybe you made a promise you didn't keep. Maybe she caught you in a small lie, and now she's wondering what else you're hiding. Broken trust rarely explodes. It seeps in, quietly, slowly, until one day, there's nothing left to believe in. So far, we've peeled back some of the most painful truths about why women leave, even when everything seems fine on the outside. But there's one more layer we need to explore, something deeper, something most men never realize they're doing until it's too late. Stay with me, because in the next part, we'll uncover the final and most dangerous pattern that quietly pushes her away. Let's keep going. This isn't just about understanding women, it's about becoming a better man. So we've uncovered the heavy truth about broken trust, how it doesn't always explode in dramatic betrayal, but often seeps in like water through a crack, until one day, the foundation gives way. When trust begins to fade, the entire relationship starts to tremble, silently, beneath the surface. The silent collapse. When trust erodes sometimes, it's not an earthquake that shatters a relationship, it's a slow leak. Like water wearing away at stone, the damage builds quietly over time. And then suddenly, it's too late. Rebuilding that trust? It's possible, but it takes time, truth, and consistent effort. If she's beginning to question your words, your loyalty, or your intentions, that's not just a red flag. That's the ice cracking beneath your feet. Because once a woman no longer feels emotionally or physically safe with you, she begins to retreat. Not out of rage, but out of self-preservation. So if you've been hiding things, texts, feelings, truths, you need to ask yourself honestly, is this small secret worth losing everything we've built? Because once trust dies, love has no place left to grow. The silent exit. When she leaves without saying a word. Here's the part that shocks most men. By the time she walks out the door, she's already been gone for a while. This is the silent exit. It doesn't come with yelling or slamming doors. It happens in the details. Tiny shifts you might not even notice. She stops laughing at your jokes. She no longer argues because she stopped believing it's worth it. She starts going to bed earlier, not because she's tired, but because she's tired of trying. And the saddest part, she's already cried the tears. In the bathroom, behind closed doors, while you scrolled your phone or watched TV, thinking everything was fine, she didn't storm out. She shut down, little by little, to protect the only thing she had left, her heart. And that silence you thought was peace? It wasn't. It was grief in disguise. So she stopped engaging, stopped asking, stopped caring. You might be standing in the eye of the storm, still, while everything's already collapsing around you. What you can do, prevention and reconnection. Now comes the real question. What can you actually do about it? Here's the good news, hope isn't gone. Most relationships don't crumble because of one massive mistake. They break down from small missteps, repeated over time. And that means they can be repaired step by step. Start with awareness. Review everything we've covered. Emotional neglect, fading polarity, broken communication, trust issues. Ask yourself honestly, where have I stopped showing up as the man I promised to be? No shame, no guilt, just truth. Because truth is where healing begins. Then, take action. Be present. Put the phone down. Look her in the eyes. Ask, how are you really feeling? Listen not to fix, but to understand. Show appreciation out loud. Not just for the big things, but for the quiet ones. Like the way she folds your shirt, or remembers your sister's birthday. Regain your drive. You don't need a perfect life plan, but having a goal, a purpose, even a personal challenge reignites her respect and your confidence. Rebuild trust through consistency. If you say you'll change, show it. Let your actions do the talking. It doesn't have to be grand. It just has to be real. Because here's the truth. Most women don't want to leave. They leave because staying feels like choosing slow emotional death. So if she's still beside you, even quietly, it's not too late. But you have to move. Because love doesn't survive on autopilot. Conclusion. Wake up before she walks away. So here's the bottom line. Women don't leave out of nowhere. They leave after months, sometimes years of feeling alone. While being in a relationship, they leave because their needs go unmet. Because their hearts go unseen. Because no one noticed the silence until it screamed. We've talked about the hidden roots of heartbreak, emotional neglect, loss of masculine feminine, polarity, communication breakdown, feeling unappreciated, broken trust, the slow fade most men never see coming. But now you do see it, and that gives you power. Power to shift, to rebuild, to reconnect, before it's too late. So if this video stirred something in you, don't ignore it. Take one small action today. Reflect, speak honestly, listen fully, because awareness without action, that's just regret in disguise. And now, I want to hear from you. What's one lesson you've learned the hard way in a relationship? Drop it in the comments below. Your truth might be exactly what someone else needs to hear right now. If this video resonated, hit that like, subscribe, and tap the bell icon so you don't miss the next episode. Because in our next video, we're flipping the script. Leave her. If your woman does these things, you won't want to miss it. Until then, stay grounded, stay real, and keep walking the Stoic path. This is pure Stoic truth.